Lieutenant Sam Richards stood at the viewport of the Earth Alliance vessel Pathfinder, watching the massive alien ships hover in formation. The ships of the Galactic Council were smooth and curved, nothing like the practical, angular human designs. 6 months ago, humanity had no idea aliens existed. Now Sam was part of the first diplomatic team meeting with representatives from 7 different species. "Nervous?" Captain Lisa Ford asked, joining him at the window. Sam nodded. "A little. Wouldn't you be?" "We all are," she said. "But they picked you for this team for a reason, remember that." Sam had specialized in xenolinguistics and cultural adaptation at the Academy. He understood patterns and could spot social cues across different communication styles. These were useful skills when nobody knew what to expect from aliens. The commie system chimed. "Lieutenant Richards to briefing room 3, a voice announced. Sam straightened his blue uniform and made his way through the ship's corridors. In the briefing room, Ambassador Joe Miller was reviewing notes on his tablet. "Richards, good. Have a seat," Miller said. "The council representatives will board in 30 minutes. I want you observing and analyzing everything. Don't speak unless spoken to, but record every reaction and behavior pattern you notice." "Yes, sir," Sam replied. "Any update on which species we're meeting first?" "The Arcari delegation. Supposedly the most diplomatic of the bunch." The ambassador's expression was grim. "Something's off about all this, Richards. The council contacted us, invited us to this meeting, but they're being vague about why. Stay sharp." 20 minutes later, Sam stood in the docking bay with the welcome team. The airlock cycled open with a hiss, and the first aliens humanity would officially meet stepped aboard. The Arcari stood on 2 legs but looked nothing like humans. They had smooth blue-gray skin, large eyes that didn't blink, and 4-fingered hands. The tallest one stepped forward, wearing elaborate robes with geometric patterns. "I am Elder Zixtar of the Arcari realm," it said through a translation device. "The Galactic Council welcomes humanity to the greater community of spacefaring civilizations." Ambassador Miller performed the practiced greeting. "Earth and her colonies are honored by your welcome, Elder Zixtar." The meeting moved to the ship's conference room. Representatives from other alien species joined, the reptilian Drakari, the insectoid Vesperi, and others Sam had only seen in briefing materials. They asked many questions about Earth, human physiology, and especially human history. "Your technological progression is unusual," Elder Zixtar noted. "From first powered flight to space travel in less than 70 years. From first computers to artificial intelligence in less than a century." "Humans adapt quickly," Ambassador Miller replied carefully. A Drakari representative leaned forward. "Yet you spent nearly 300,000 years as primitive hunter-gatherers before developing agriculture. This pattern is inconsistent." Sam noticed how the aliens exchanged glances. There was something they weren't saying. Later that evening, Sam was called to the ambassador's private office. "The council has made an unusual request," Miller said. "They want to meet with our historians. Specifically, they're asking for experts in human evolutionary history and prehistoric development." "Why would advanced aliens care about cave people?" Sam asked. "That's what I want to find out," Miller replied. "I'm calling in Dr. Alice Bennett from Earth University, top expert in human origins and prehistoric technology. I want you to work with her when she arrives." 3 days later, Sam waited in the docking bay as the shuttle from Earth arrived. Dr. Alice Bennett was younger than he expected, maybe mid-30s, with short brown hair and alert eyes. "Lieutenant Richards," she asked, extending her hand. "Alice Bennett, I hear we're going to teach aliens about cavemen." "Seems that way," Sam replied, shaking her hand. "Though I'm not sure why they're so interested." Alice smiled. "I have a theory about that. The council representatives keep asking about our early technological development, right? Specifically about tool use and resource manipulation?" Sam nodded. "I think they've noticed something unusual about us," she said. "Something fundamental that sets humans apart from every other species they've encountered. And I think it has something to do with fire." Alice spent the night preparing her presentation, Sam brought her coffee as she organized her materials on ancient human development. I've included everything from the first stone tools to early settlements, Alice said, accepting the cup gratefully. But I focused heavily on fire use, as you suggested. Something about their questions keeps pointing that way, Sam replied. The council seems fixated on our early technological capabilities. The meeting room filled with alien representatives the next morning. Elder Zixtar sat at the center, flanked by delegates from each council species. Sam noticed more had joined than before, including several who wore insignia marking them as scientists. Ambassador Miller made a brief introduction, then nodded to Alice. Dr. Bennett will present on human evolutionary development as requested. Alice stepped forward, activating her display screen. Human evolution began approximately 7 million years ago, with our direct ancestors appearing around 2 million years ago. She showed images of early human ancestors, small ape-like creatures standing upright. These early humans created simple stone tools for cutting meat and breaking nuts. Elder Krell, a tall, lean representative of the Voxari species, leaned forward with interest. A significant advancement occurred roughly 1.5 million years ago, Alice continued, advancing to the next slide. Evidence shows our ancestors began controlling and using fire. The room suddenly went silent. Sam watched as the aliens exchanged glances. Something had changed in the atmosphere. Perhaps you misspoke, Elder Krell said finally. You meant to say 1,500 years ago? No, Alice replied, confused. The archaeological evidence is clear. Fire was used by our ancestors, at least 300,000 years ago, with evidence suggesting use as far back as 1.5 million years. The alien delegates began speaking in their own languages. Sam couldn't understand the words, but the tone was unmistakable. Shock and disbelief. Elder Zixtar raised a hand, silencing the room. Dr. Bennett, you are claiming that primitive humans, before developing written language, advanced mathematics, or even basic metal tools, learned to create and control fire. Yes, Alice said. Fire use predates all of those developments by hundreds of thousands of years. It was fundamental to our evolution. More murmurs filled the room. A Drakari representative stood abruptly and left. Please, Elder Zixtar said, explain how these primitive beings used fire. Alice showed images of ancient hearths discovered by archaeologists. They used fire for warmth in cold environments, allowing humans to spread to colder regions. They used it for light to extend their active hours beyond daylight. They used it for protection against predators. She advanced to the next slide. Most importantly, they cooked their food. Before metal pots? Before ceramic vessels? Asked a Vesperi scientist. Yes. They cooked directly on hot stones or over open flames. Cooking made food easier to digest and killed harmful bacteria. This led to better nutrition, which supported the development of larger brains. The council members were visibly disturbed. Some were rapidly taking notes while others huddled in whispered conversations. In our teaching of young ones, Elder Krell said slowly, fire is described as the untamable element. All species fear fire instinctively. It is only with advanced materials and protective technologies that any species safely harnesses flame. Sam began to understand. Are you saying other intelligent species didn't use fire until they were already technologically advanced? Elder Zixtar nodded. Among all council species, controlled fire use came only after we had developed complex societies, usually just a few hundred years before achieving spaceflight. That's not possible, Alice said. How did you cook food? How did you stay warm? We ate what could be consumed raw, a Vesperi explained. We developed insulated dwellings and thermal clothing. We avoided predators through numbers and defensive structures. Never did we think to tame the flame itself. Elder Zixtar stood. We must discuss this privately. This revelation changes our understanding of human development significantly. After the aliens left, Ambassador Miller turned to them. What just happened? Alice looked at Sam, her eyes wide with realization. We just discovered that humans are the only known species that conquered fire while still living in caves. And for some reason that terrifies them, Sam nodded. The question is why. The next morning, Sam found Alice in the ship's science lab with Peter Howard, the Pathfinder's chief scientist. They were reviewing data on a large screen. I've compared the evolutionary timelines of all 7 council species, Peter said as Sam entered. The pattern is consistent. Not one of them used fire until they were already highly advanced. Alice pointed to a chart. Look at this. The Arcari developed mathematics, astronomy, and complex architecture. They built entire cities, all before they ever controlled fire. How is that even possible? Sam asked. Different evolutionary pressures, Peter explained. The Vesperi evolved in warm environments where they never needed fire for heat. The Dracari can see in infrared, so darkness wasn't a problem. Each species found different solutions to the challenges that humans solved with fire. Alice pulled up an image of an ancient human skull. But fire did more than warm us and light our caves. Cooking food allowed us to get more calories with less effort. Our digestive systems shortened and our brains grew larger. So fire didn't just help us survive, Sam said slowly. It helped make us what we are. Exactly, Peter nodded. And that's what has the council worried. A message appeared on Sam's communicator. Ambassador Miller wants us in the diplomatic suite. The council has reconvened. When they arrived, the atmosphere was tense. More security personnel were present, both human and alien. Elder Zixtar and 3 other council members sat across from Ambassador Miller. We have reviewed your historical data, Elder Zixtar began. We have also consulted with our xenobiologists. What we have learned is concerning. Concerning how? Ambassador Miller asked. A tall, thin alien that Sam recognized as a Medusan, scientist spoke. All intelligent species we have encountered evolved with a natural fear of fire. It is a destructive force that threatens herd, nest, and habitat. To approach fire, to control it, requires overcoming deep instinctual fear. Humans did this while still primitive, Elder Krell added. It suggests an unusual level of curiosity and risk-taking behavior built into your very psychology. You're saying we're too brave? Alice asked. Too reckless, perhaps, the Medusan replied. A species that masters fire so early might be more likely to embrace other dangerous technologies before understanding their consequences. Sam felt a chill. You think we're dangerous. We think you developed differently, Elder Zixtar said, carefully. This raises questions about how humans might approach other dangerous forces. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ship, someone else was having a similar conversation. Lieutenant Mary Adams of Earth Security had been monitoring communications between the alien vessels. She rushed into the office of Security Chief Frank Nelson. Sir, I've detected encrypted transmissions from the Dracari ship to their homeworld, she reported. Our AI managed to decode portions of it. Frank looked up sharply. What did they say? They're calling humans firewalkers and discussing military capabilities. They specifically mentioned concern about our aggressive evolutionary path. Frank pulled up a secure channel to Ambassador Miller's private communicator. We may have a situation developing, he said quietly. Back in the diplomatic suite, a new message arrived for Elder Zixtar. The alien read it and looked up with concern. I must ask a direct question, the elder said. In your history, how soon after mastering fire did humans develop weapons using fire? The humans exchanged glances. Almost immediately, Alice admitted. Fire-hardened spears date back hundreds of thousands of years. The aliens' translator devices couldn't quite capture their reactions, but their body language showed clear alarm. We would like to propose a joint research project, Elder Zixtar said finally. Our scientists wish to study your archaeological sites on Earth, these places where early fire use is documented. Ambassador Miller nodded slowly. I'm sure that can be arranged. As they left the meeting, Sam pulled Alice aside. They're frightened of us, aren't they? Yes, Alice replied, but I don't think it's just about fire anymore. It's about what fire represents, humans' willingness to control dangerous natural forces. And what does that mean for our relationship with the Council? Alice looked grim. I don't know, but something tells me not all of them want to be our friends. 3 days later, Admiral Diane Collins arrived on the Pathfinder. She wasn't supposed to be there. Military leaders rarely join diplomatic missions, but the situation had changed. The Drakari have moved 3 warships closer to Earth, she told Ambassador Miller in the secure briefing room. Sam, Alice, and Security Chief Frank Nelson listened closely. Are they planning to attack? Ambassador Miller asked. We don't know, the Admiral replied. But they've requested information about our weapon systems, especially anything using heat or flame. Frank spoke up. My team intercepted more communications. There's a faction within the Council called the Conservation Front. They believe humans evolved too aggressively to safely join galactic society. Sam looked at Alice. Because we mastered fire so early? That seems to be the trigger, Frank confirmed. But it goes deeper. They see our whole evolutionary path as dangerous. Taking risks, exploring unknown territories, embracing dangerous technologies. Admiral Collins spread several images across the table. These are Drakari military vessels. Notice their design. Everything is protected, shielded especially from heat. Their weapons are primarily sonic and kinetic. They avoid anything resembling fire. A species that evolved avoiding fire would design ships that way, Alice noted. Exactly, the Admiral said. But it means they assume our weapons would be fire-based. They're preparing for what they fear most. A message chimed on Frank's device. Security alert. We have an unauthorized access attempt to our weapon systems database. The Admiral's face hardened. Lock it down. Now. As Frank worked to secure the systems, Sam pulled up recent communication logs. There's been unusual activity from the Vesperi ship too. They've been scanning our vessel, focusing on our environmental systems. What are they looking for? Ambassador Miller asked. Temperature controls, air filtration. Sam paused. They're mapping how we manage fire safety. At that moment, Lieutenant Mary Adams rushed in. Sir, the Council has called an emergency session. All 7 species will be present. They're requesting human representatives immediately. Admiral Collins stood. I'll go with the ambassador. Richards, you and Dr. Bennett join us. Nelson, keep this ship secure. They arrived in the Council chamber aboard the largest alien vessel. All 7 Council species were represented, with their military advisors present. The room was arranged in a circle, with Elder Zixtar presiding. We have reviewed the data on human evolution, the Elder began. Some members of the Council have expressed concerns about Earth joining our community. A Drakari representative stood. Humans are dangerous. Any species that tamed fire while still primitive must possess unusual levels of aggression and risk, tolerance. Their history confirms this. They weaponized every discovery they ever made. That's not fair, Ambassador Miller objected. We use technology for peaceful purposes, too. Your history says otherwise, the Drakari continued. You discovered nuclear power and immediately built bombs. You explored space and brought weapons. With you. Sam noticed the Vesperi representatives nodding in agreement. Admiral Collins stepped forward. We came here in peace. But we've detected your ships scanning our defenses. You're the ones preparing for conflict. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Elder Zixtar called for order. There is another perspective, said a small, gentle-looking alien from a species called the Lumi. The Arkari archives contain records of other emerging civilizations. Some showed great promise but developed too slowly and died out. Perhaps humanity's approach has advantages. Or perhaps they will destroy themselves and others, the Drakari representative countered. Elder Krell raised a hand. I propose a compromise. We will send scientists to study human development sites on Earth. Until we better understand them, we delay full admission to the Council. Elder Zixtar looked at the human delegation. Is this acceptable? Before Ambassador Miller could answer, Alice spoke. We have nothing to hide. We welcome your scientists. As they left the chamber, Admiral Collins looked troubled. We just agreed to let alien scientists study our weaknesses. No, Alice replied. We agreed to let them see our strength. They need to understand that our relationship with fire isn't about destruction. It's about transformation. Sam wasn't convinced. And if they decide we're too dangerous? The Admiral's expression was grim. Then we'd better hope they never find out what else humans have learned to control besides fire. 1 week later, Sam watched as the alien research team stepped off their shuttle onto Earth soil. The landing site was in East Africa, near some of the oldest known human fire sites. Dr. Karen Mitchell, Earth's leading archaeologist, greeted them. "Welcome to Wonderwork Cave," Karen said. "This site contains evidence of fire use dating back over 1 million years." The alien scientists moved cautiously. Sam noticed how the Vesperi kept their distance from the demonstration hearth that local researchers had prepared. Even unlit, the fire pit made them nervous. Alice joined Sam as they followed the group. "They act like they're in a room full of explosives," she whispered. "For them, maybe it is," Sam replied. Karen led them into the ancient cave. "Our ancestors used this space for thousands of generations. We've found layers of ash-burned bones and stone tools here." The Medusan scientist ran a scanner over the cave walls. "There are still carbon particles embedded in the rock." "Your ancestors burned wood here regularly." "Yes," Karen confirmed. "They cooked meat, kept warm, and gathered around the fire. It became central to human social development." While the scientists explored the cave, Sam noticed one alien, Rill, a young Arcari, examining everything with particular interest. Unlike the others, Rill seemed more curious than afraid. "Your people really lived here? With the fire?" Rill asked Sam. "Our ancestors did," Sam answered, "for hundreds of thousands of years. And they weren't afraid. They respected fire's danger, but they learned to control it." Rill's large eyes blinked. "In our history, those who approached fire died. We learned to stay away until we had protective technologies." Later that day, the group moved to another site where Karen had prepared a demonstration. She knelt beside a pile of dry grass and sticks, placing a flat piece of wood on the ground. "This is how our ancestors made fire," she explained. She took a straight stick and began spinning it between her palms, pressing the end into the flat wood. The aliens watched, fascinated and horrified. After a few minutes, smoke appeared. Karen gently blew on the smoking spot and added dry grass. A small flame flickered to life. The Vesperi scientist backed away quickly. The others watched with a mixture of fear and wonder as Karen fed the small flame until it became a proper campfire. "Your hands," the Medusan noted. "They are so close to the flames." Karen smiled. "Humans have always lived closely with fire. We learned to respect it but not to fear it entirely." That evening, Sam found Alice reviewing data with Peter back on the Pathfinder. "Look at this," Peter said, pointing to his screen. "I've analyzed the evolutionary pathways of all council species. The crucial difference isn't just that they feared fire. It's that they evolved through environmental adaptation, while humans actively modified their environment. We didn't just adapt to our world," Alice said. "We changed it to suit us." "Starting with fire," Sam added. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent message. "Lieutenant Richards to the command center immediately." When Sam arrived, Admiral Collins was studying a tactical display. "The Drakari warship has changed position. It's now between Earth and our moon." "Are they threatening us?" Sam asked. "Not openly, but they've requested access to our military archives, specifically our early weapons development. They're particularly interested in how we first weaponized fire." "What did we tell them?" "Nothing yet," the Admiral replied. "But the Council is divided. Some species support us, particularly the Lumi, and, surprisingly, the Arcari. Others side with the Drakari." Sam thought about Rill's curiosity. "Maybe not all of them fear us." "Maybe not," the Admiral agreed. "But enough do to cause concern." Back on Earth, Karen was having dinner with several alien scientists. She noticed how carefully they examined their food. "Is something wrong?" she asked. "It was heated with fire?" a Vesperi scientist asked cautiously. "Yes," Karen replied. "Cooked on a stove." The aliens exchanged glances. The Medusan spoke hesitantly. In our cultures, using fire for food preparation came only after we had developed precisely controlled heating technologies. The idea of eating food prepared with raw flame is unsettling. Karen realized something important. You didn't just avoid fire. You never learned to see it as helpful. Why would we? The Vesperi asked. Fire destroys. It consumes. How could primitive beings ever see it as anything but a threat? Because humans, Karen replied, saw beyond the danger to the possibility. The situation worsened overnight. Sam was woken by an emergency alert. In the command center, Admiral Collins stood before a large screen showing the positions of ships in Earth orbit. 3 more Drakari vessels arrived during the night, she said grimly. They're claiming it's a routine patrol, but their weapons are powered and ready. Ambassador Miller looked worried. Have they made any demands? Nothing direct, the Admiral replied. But they've requested that all human ships remain in Earth orbit until the Council completes its assessment. That's not a request, Sam said. That's containment. Alice and Peter arrived looking like they hadn't slept. We found something in the Council archives, Peter said, placing a data pad on the table. Elder Zixtar granted us limited access, but it was enough. What did you find? Sam asked. Alice pulled up several images. Records of other emerging species, at least 3 that were placed under what they call developmental monitoring when they showed signs of advancing too quickly. You mean quarantine? Admiral Collins said flatly. Peter nodded. The Drakari led those containment efforts too. In each case, they cited concerns about species developing technologies they weren't psychologically prepared to handle. What happened to those species? Ambassador Miller asked. 2 collapsed into civil wars during their industrial ages. The 3rd is still under observation, confined to their home system. The room fell silent as they absorbed this information. We need to contact Earth Command, Admiral Collins said finally. And we need a plan. On Earth, Karen was showing the alien scientists evidence of early human metalworking when her communication device chimed with an urgent message from Sam. She read it quickly, her expression darkening. Is something wrong? Asked Rill the Young. Arkari Karen chose her words carefully. There's a situation developing in orbit. Rill moved closer, speaking quietly. The Drakari military faction. They fear what humans represent. Which is what exactly? Karen asked. A different path to intelligence, Rill replied. One that embraces danger rather than avoiding it. My people's historians believe this is why humans advanced so rapidly after your industrial age. While your species developed more cautiously, Rill nodded. We calculate every risk. We test each new technology for generations before full adoption. It is safer, but slower. Their conversation was interrupted when the Medusan scientist approached. We've received a message from the Council. All research teams are to return to orbit immediately. Karen exchanged glances with Rill. Something was happening. In orbit, Sam joined Ambassador Miller in an emergency meeting with Elder Zixtar. The Arkari elder looked troubled. The Drakari have formally requested that Earth be placed under developmental monitoring, Elder Zixtar explained. They cite concerns about human aggression based on your evolutionary history. That's outrageous, Ambassador Miller protested. You can't judge our future behavior based on how we evolved. Some council members believe that your species' willingness to harness destructive forces for progress makes you unpredictable and potentially dangerous. Sam leaned forward. Is that what you believe, Elder? The alien was silent for a moment. I believe that different evolutionary paths can lead to the same destination, but the Drakari command significant military resources, and they have supporters. So what happens now? Ambassador Miller asked. The Council will vote in 2 cycles. If they approve monitoring, all human space travel would be restricted to your solar system for an observation period of at least 100 years. After the elder left, Admiral Collins joined them. We picked up a transmission from the Drakari flagship. If the vote goes against us, they're prepared to enforce the quarantine immediately. Can we fight them? Sam asked. The Admiral shook her head. Not all of them. Not yet. Then what options do we have? Ambassador Miller looked thoughtful. Elder Zixtar said different paths can lead to the same destination. Maybe we need to show them more about our path. What do you mean? Sam asked. Fire wasn't just a weapon or a tool for us, Ambassador Miller explained. It was the heart of human community. It brought us together. It helped us share knowledge and build culture. Alice nodded slowly. The council species fear what they don't understand about us. Maybe we need to help them understand. How? Admiral Collins asked. Sam thought about Rill's curiosity. We show them, not just the science, but the meaning of fire to humans. A cultural exchange. In 2 days? The Admiral asked skeptically. It might be our only chance, Ambassador Miller said. Sometimes the best defense isn't a display of strength, but a demonstration of understanding. Sam's plan came together quickly. The Pathfinder crew cleared a large cargo bay and transformed it into what humans had gathered around for countless generations, a campsite with a fire pit at its center. Will the council even agree to this? Admiral Collins asked as she watched crew members arrange stones in a circle. Elder Zixtar has convinced them, Ambassador Miller replied. They're curious, despite their fears. Alice supervised as crew members brought in items representing fire's role in human development: clay pots, metal tools, musical instruments, and cooking implements from various historical periods. We need to show them the complete story, she explained. Not just how we used fire, but how it shaped us. Karen returned from Earth with the alien scientists. Rill looked excited, but the others appeared nervous about the demonstration. Is it safe to have open flame on a starship? The Medusan scientist asked. We've taken precautions, Sam assured him. Fire suppression systems are standing by, though. We won't need them. Word spread through the alien vessels. Even species that had supported the Drakari position requested to observe the demonstration. By evening, representatives from all 7 council species had gathered in the cargo bay. Elder Zixtar spoke first. The humans have requested this opportunity to share their relationship with fire before our vote tomorrow. We have agreed to witness their demonstration. Sam stepped forward. Throughout human history, fire has been more than a tool. It has been the center of our communities. At his signal, Karen knelt by the fire pit. Using the ancient friction method, she created a small flame. The aliens watched, some recoiling slightly, others leaning forward with fascination. As the fire grew, Alice narrated how early humans used fire for protection, allowing them to sleep safely in dangerous environments. Fire extended our days beyond sunset, she explained. It gave us time to talk, to teach, to share stories. Peter demonstrated early cooking techniques, showing how fire made more foods edible and nutritious. The rich smell of roasting meat filled the room. Would any of you like to try? Karen asked, offering small pieces of cooked food. There was hesitation, but Rill stepped forward first. Carefully, the young Arkari tasted the fire-cooked meat. It's different, more flavorful. Gradually, others joined. A Lumi representative tried the food and nodded with appreciation. As the demonstration continued, the atmosphere in the room changed. Sam showed how early humans used fire to harden wooden spears, while Alice demonstrated pottery firing and metalworking in small, controlled examples. Fire allowed us to transform materials, she explained. Sand became glass, clay became pottery, ore became metal. Karen added logs to the central fire, which now burned steadily. In every human culture across our planet, people gathered around the fire. It was where we told stories, sang songs, and passed knowledge from one generation to the next. Sam picked up a guitar. Even today, humans gather around campfires to connect with each other. He began to play a simple, peaceful melody. The aliens watched as the humans sat naturally around the fire, relaxed and at ease with the dancing flames. Elder Krell, who had been silent until now, spoke. For us, fire was always destruction. It never occurred to our ancestors that it could create. That's the human perspective, Alice replied. We see transformation where others might only see destruction. The Drakari representative had remained at the back of the room. Now he stepped forward. This display doesn't change the facts. Human history is filled with violence and war. Yes, Ambassador Miller acknowledged. We have made many mistakes. But fire taught us something important, that powerful forces can be destructive or creative depending on how we use them. Rill moved closer to the fire, extending his hands toward the warmth. I understand now. You don't fear it because you learn to live with it, to see beyond its danger. Elder Zixtar watched thoughtfully. Perhaps there is wisdom in the human approach after all. Sam looked around the room. Some aliens still kept their distance from the fire, but others had drawn closer, watching the flames with newfound curiosity rather than fear. Tomorrow they vote, Alice whispered to Sam. Do you think we changed any minds? I don't know, Sam replied, but at least now they're seeing the real humanity, not just their fears about us. The day of the council vote arrived. Sam, Alice, and Ambassador Miller waited outside the Grand Council chamber aboard the Arcari ship. Admiral Collins remained on the Pathfinder, ready for any outcome. What do you think will happen? Sam asked quietly. I wish I knew. Ambassador, Miller replied. The Drakari position is strong. They've contained other species before. But we're not like those other species, Alice said. We've already reached the stars, we can't go back. A soft chime sounded, and the doors to the chamber opened. Inside, representatives from all 7 council species sat in a circle. Elder Zixtar gestured for the humans to enter. The council has deliberated, the elder announced. We have reviewed the evidence and considered humanity's unique evolutionary path. Sam noticed Rill sitting among the junior Arcari representatives. The young alien gave a subtle nod of encouragement. The question before us, Elder Zixtar continued, is whether humanity should be placed under developmental monitoring due to concerns about their aggressive evolutionary path. The Drakari representative stood. Our position remains unchanged. A species that conquered fire while still primitive has demonstrated a reckless approach to development. Their history of warfare confirms this tendency. Elder Krell of the Voxari spoke next. However, last night's demonstration showed another side of human development. Their relationship with fire was not merely about weaponry, but about community and transformation. The vote stands at 3 in favor of monitoring and 3 against, Elder Zixtar said. As is our tradition, the Arcari cast the deciding vote. The room fell silent. Sam held his breath. The Arcari vote against monitoring, Elder Zixtar declared. Humanity will be welcomed as full members of the Galactic Council. The Drakari representative made a sharp gesture of protest. This is a mistake. They are not ready. Perhaps, Elder Zixtar replied, it is not humans who are unprepared, but those who cannot see beyond their own evolutionary path. The Drakari delegation left the chamber in protest, but the others remained. The council session continued with discussion of how to integrate Earth into the galactic community. Later, as Sam watched the Drakari warships move away from Earth orbit, Admiral Collins joined him at the viewport. They're not happy, she observed. But they won't act against the council's decision. For now, Sam added. For now, she agreed. But this is just the beginning. We'll need to prove them wrong about us. On Earth, a new institute was being established. Alice showed Karen and Peter the plans for the Galactic Cultural Exchange Center, where alien scholars could study human history while humans learned from other species. We'll have the first alien students arriving next month, Alice said. They're especially interested in our early fire sites. And what about Rill? Karen asked. Is he joining us? He'll be the first Arcari exchange student, Alice confirmed. He's fascinated by how fire shaped human cognitive development. That evening, Sam stood on a hillside outside the new institute. Elder Zixtar had requested a private meeting away from the diplomatic teams. There is something I wish to show you, the elder said, producing a small device. It projected an image of a primitive-looking alien creature. This is an ancestor of the Arcari, from over 2 million years ago. Sam studied the image. They Look like they were well adapted to their environment? Indeed, our evolution was stable, predictable. We changed slowly, responding to environmental pressures. The elder switched images. This is an early human ancestor from the same time period. Much smaller brains, Sam noted. Less developed. Yes, by all measures, your species should have remained small, specialized creatures. But then you tamed fire. The elder turned off the device. In doing so, you changed your own evolutionary path. Is that why the Drakari fear us? They fear what they do not understand, Elder Zixtar replied. All council species evolved by adapting to their environments. Humans were the only ones who adapted their environment to themselves. Sam watched as the sun began to set, painting the sky in colors of flame. What happens now? Now, Elder Zixtar said, we learn from each other. Your species has much to teach about innovation and transformation, and perhaps we can teach patience and caution. As darkness fell, lights began to illuminate the Institute buildings below. From their hillside vantage point, the scattered lights resembled a field of stars, or perhaps a scatter of campfires from humanity's ancient past. We've come a long way from those first fires in caves, Sam said. Yes, Elder Zixtar agreed, but in many ways you carry that fire with you still. It burns in your curiosity, your creativity, your courage to explore the unknown. Fire can be dangerous, Sam acknowledged. So can any power, the elder replied. But as you humans have shown us, fire can also bring light to darkness. And that is a lesson worth learning.